We're just starting this session, and it's going to be about the pros and the cons of a Chromebook. I've got Jane joining me, and I'm just going to share some ideas, and Jane, you're welcome to share some more. Jane, can you see my slide there? Okay, this is actually a picture of one of our Chromebooks that we have available for staff. So they look like a regular laptop. The keyboard's actually a little bit smaller, like a ½ inch smaller. But they feel pretty comfortable to use, so you probably wouldn't notice if someone didn't tell you. Very lightweight, portable device, and we're just going to go through some of the reasons why school or staff might be looking at these for an option. What is a Chromebook? It looks like a laptop, but it runs Chrome's browser and operating system. Most people feel you need an internet connection to really use this device. That's what it's intended for. It has wireless connection to the internet. But there are some apps that you can run offline when you do not have the internet, so we'll talk about a few of those. It's really intended for people that have access to the internet, which most of our schools do now. One of the first things I look for on a device when I'm getting a laptop or any type of computer is what can I plug into, and this is actually one we have for staff to check out and use, like if they would be having trouble with their own computer. On the side you can see I've got a power supply where I could plug into electricity. I've got HDMI, which means I could go out to video. Technically, it takes the video and the audio with it, so if you want to project. What you don't see is to be able to project to like VGA. So if I go out to a school and they have an old VGA projector and I want to project from my Chromebook, I can, but I need an adapter to do that. Most TVs are HDMI, so you can connect at home. There's also a device called a Chromecast that I can plug into my TV and do this wireless. So a variety of ways if you want to connect to a display that you could. Hi Seth, I see you peeking in there. This device has two USBs. Most people plug in a mouse, especially if they're not familiar or don't like to use the trackpad. But I also could plug in a flash drive. And when I first got my personal Chromebook, I tried plugging in my I have like a portable backup hard drive, and that worked too. So technically I could access files or music or things that I had stored on a flash drive or another drive by plugging into this USB. And then of course I've got my headphones here on this side. So here's just a quick rundown of the pros, and you're welcome to add to this, Jane, if you'd like. The biggest reason schools are looking at these is cost. They're very affordable. I can get them in the hands of the kids. Adults sometimes feel the same advantages. If I have a high-priced computer and I don't want to drag it on a vacation or take it somewhere, I purchased mine for like $120 at Target. So I have one that is personal. So it's a good personal device, student device. You might also want to consider it for your main computer, and we're going to talk about some pros and cons when you might want to do that. Small size, a lot of times I'll charge mine up and take it with me and not even take the cable or the cord because I know it's going to last 7 or 8 hours. So I can take a small device. Has the keyboard, so I kind of like that if I'm taking notes or need to access something on the internet. Schools love it because of the administration. I can take it out of a box, set it up very quickly. I don't have to do a lot of installations. The updates are automatic. And if someone logs in, you have access to everything that you had in your Google account. So if you're using Google Chrome and you've set it up with your favorite apps and extensions, they're going to be there. Saves to the cloud. So if I save a video or save something into Google Drive, I'm going to be able to access it from anywhere, whether that's a Google document, photo, picture. There are tons of apps in the Chrome store. We'll talk about a few of our favorites. Get ready, Jane. You can help with that part. The learning curve, it's been pretty easy for students and teachers to use, especially because they're used to the internet and the browsers. The cons, I kind of went short here. There's probably more cons than I typed on this, but no hard drive is usually the biggest one, so we might just talk about what that means. If I don't have a hard drive, I cannot install the traditional old Microsoft Word that I might be comfortable with. I cannot install Photoshop because it's a very large program. I cannot install Camtasia, which I like to edit videos with. I can't even install my print driver so I can plug a cord in. So on the side of the device I showed you, there is a USB. But if I plug a printer in there, I can't install the print driver to print to it. Now, there are some workarounds with that, and that's probably one of the disadvantages you do need to be familiar with. If I'm in my office and I want to print to a printer, because I have everything saved in Drive, I usually just go to a different computer that has access to a printer and print. At home, I don't have a problem because I have a printer, and they're not expensive, that has something called ePrint. You set it up so that basically it's an internet printer, and it has an email address, and once I set it up, I actually go to the word print, and it knows the setup and prints out for me. So it does work a little different for printing. We're really trying to get schools and kids move away from printing out to paper. So if you're in a browser and you want to print something, a lot of times it'll give me the option to save as a PDF, which in my mind is very similar, the same thing as printing. I'm just printing it to my drive or saving it versus printing it out on a piece of paper. Durability, for adults, my use, they've been pretty durable. In schools, we see screens that get broken. I know some of the schools that have their own staff or even groups of students that can make the repairs on their devices because they have hundreds of these Chromebooks. The hinges, just like any laptop, you know, I would be careful like wrapping your cords, just like on a laptop. If you bend them a lot, you might have issues with getting shorts in your cables or in your ports. Keyboards, actually, I don't think they're all created equal, and the personal one I ended up getting is an Acer, and I know some of the Acers originally, the keyboard just felt kind of cheap, but this one really feels pretty durable, so I don't mind using that keyboard at all. But those are some parts that you kind of watch for, take care of, something might happen. Jane, can you think of any other cons that are like major on the Chromebook? It's usually within the no hard drive and not being able to do some things I'm used to that we hear the most complaints.
Yeah, I think you covered it, Lisa. I think when people really want to use Word or Active Inspire, you know, those people with whiteboards.
And sometimes it's unique to that program. For example, it's kind of difficult to do columns right now in Google Documents. I can do a table and I can remove the lines so I can create columns. But if you're used to doing a lot of columns in Word and that's built in, you're used to it, it may look different. So it's not the Chromebook, it's actually within, you know, the tools that we're using. This is just a screenshot of what you see when you start up, especially one of a Chromebook that's not your own. You have to log in, but you do have an option to browse as a guest. So it's too small for you to see here, but on the left I could shut down or I could browse as a guest, or using that big screen login there in the middle, I could sign in with my Google account. So this is what the Chrome desktop looks like. I've got my apps here across the bottom. Over here on the right hand side, you can see that I have some settings. Shows that I'm signed in with my work account. I'd also want to make sure I sign out here if I'm using someone else's Chromebook, so that they don't have access to my email and all my personal information in my Google account. I'm connected to the AEA network. If I needed to connect to a network, this is where I'd go to do that, and I would click to have it look for networks and then possibly have to put in a password to join. So that's where I connect to the internet, which is pretty important on a Chromebook because without the internet, I'm limited to what I can do. There is a settings here, and the settings is pretty valuable. Some of the things are that you can customize. For example, I can go in here and completely, it's called Power Wash, remove all the users so that it would be like a brand new machine. So if it's one we're just checking out or sharing, I can take everything off very easily. One thing I did want to do was customize the downloads, because if I save something, I don't want it just on my Chromebook. I would like to be able to save it to my drive, so that I can access, let's say I printed or saved something to a PDF, it's going to put it right here in my drive so I can get to it from any computer that I have access to. On the other side I have this, looks like a magnifying glass, and I just want to point out a few tips here. Files would be where I'd look if I plugged in my external hard drive or my flash drive. It'd show up right here. It's also where I go to safely eject a flash drive. So if my flash drive was plugged in, I'd have a little arrow here at the side to eject it, or if I want to click on it and see what files or music or pictures I have on the flash drive, it would show up right here. So if I want to go to all my apps, I could browse through them here just to see what apps I have tied to my account. And I mentioned a few of my favorites there. There's a Kindle reader, so I could read books from my, if I have a Kindle account with Amazon, I could read books that I downloaded. Pixlr is a editing program for photos. Calculator. Here's a PDF viewer. So just tools that I'd use, and you just collect these over time.